While we're waiting too, just a reminder, you can use the chat feature too. That's really what we wanted to do when we broke up into small groups, was just give us more of a chance to hear kind of where you're at and ask and answer your questions so that we can make sure that the information that we're giving to you is really tailored to what you're looking for. So tonight's going to be more about the timeline, and kind of what should be accomplished in each year. So but please don't hesitate to use that chat feature to either Jess or I or Jeff, just so we can make sure we're reaching you in the way that you want to be reached. Okay, I'm gonna get going, and anybody who jumps in can catch up with us. So I'm gonna share my screen and you'll see our presentation pop up. That's not it. There it is, present. All right, presentation mode. Okay, so welcome back. Tonight you get Jess and I, and we're gonna talk more specifically about the women's game in college and the timeline, and then dive into kind of where you take the list that you hopefully created over the past week and start reaching out to coaches. So this is our fun little diagram from last week. Now we're in meeting 2, which, like I just said, communication to coaches and really kind of diving into more specifics of the rules around different divisions, the timelines that coaches might be expecting, and also just kind of the ins and outs of how to talk to coaches. And then after this meeting, we'll give you another week to start working on some of the action items that we'll lay out and we'll walk you through today, so that you have some progress that you can make before we talk again next week. So this is just a quick slide about the levels of women's soccer. So there's obviously, everyone knows about the NCAA Division I. There's 333 Division I women's soccer teams prior to coronavirus. The average roster size is 28, and the maximum number of scholarships per school, if they're a fully funded school, will be 14. So that's just how to read this grid. Of course, Division II has fewer scholarships and fewer schools, almost half the number. Division II is also a league that, a division that is, there are places in the country where there are more Division II schools, and there are places in the country where there might be more Division III. Pennsylvania has a fair number of Division II schools. The Midwest, there are some in California. Roberts Wesleyan is Division II. Lemoyne, St. Rose are some of the more prominent Division II schools in our region, which is New York. And then in Division III, there are, again, it's, from a regional standpoint, there are probably 80 Division III schools in New York alone. It is actually its own region, where the West Coast, you could probably find 8 states that only have 40 Division III schools. So based on the region that you're in, you're going to find more Division II, Division III schools, whereas Division I you might find are more evenly spaced out. NAIA is a league that has typically been in our region, and a lot of the schools that were NAIA in New York are now either Division II or Division III schools. Houghton is one of them. Roberts Wesleyan came over from NAIA. So I don't know if we have any other NAI schools left in our region that I know of. A lot in the Midwest and have a lot fewer restrictions and are able to bring over a lot of international players. And then the NJCAA is Junior College Athletic Association. And we have a lot of different opportunities in our region Finger Lakes Community College, Monroe Community College, to name a couple, who've done well in their areas. So you can see that there's a lot of different options here. Jess, is there anything else that I'm missing on this slide?
No, nope. I think that one of the, just going off of the scholarships that these schools offer, just because it says that Division One has the 333 number of teams. That doesn't mean that every Division One school has that max scholarship to offer to the student athletes. So it could be that the school is not fully funded and they can only offer 9 scholarships. That goes to say for Division II as well. So although it says 9.9 scholarships for Division II, and that's per roster. So that's out of the 27 on the roster, they have 9.9 scholarships, but they could break it up however they want. They could offer 9.9 full scholarships and the rest have no scholarship at all. They could offer a partial scholarship to 18 kids, where it's a half scholarship. So they can break those up in any way, shape, or form. And they have, a lot of times it depends on how many seniors are graduating, and out of that class, how many scholarships can they now offer to the freshmen coming in. So it gets complicated, but I think I think you covered it for the most part, Liz.
And then in terms of contact, with Division One, they have dead periods in their recruiting when they can and cannot communicate. And because of what's going on in the current moment, they're in a dead period. So they cannot do any recruiting at the time being, in terms of emails, phone calls, or anything. That's through the end of May and is being considered to go through the end of June as well. So
yeah, because we were going to try and get a Division I or II coach on here for you guys to ask questions to, and they are unable to even participate in any Zoom meetings with potential student athletes. So because it is in their dead period.
So right now, you can contact Division III and you can get yourself organized to be able to communicate when the dead period ends. So at the Division I and Division II levels, there's a minimum GPA score along with a test score that needs to be reached, a threshold that needs to be reached to enable you to be able to compete at those levels. This would be through the NCAA clearinghouse, and you also have to take a rigorous course schedule, like basically what your guidance counselor would advise you to take anyways. But the division, in order to pass through the clearinghouse and be eligible to compete at those levels, you need to make sure that you're taking your rigorous course load with your math every year, with your sciences. And then you're not looking to get a GPA that's really high while you're taking art or gym or weights or whatever. That you must meet those required courses in order to be eligible through the NCAA. So this is obviously a time when you can focus a lot on your academics. And as a freshman, and we'll go through this later on or in a couple of slides, that it's really important that you're focusing heavily on what your grades are. And this goes back to the scholarship amount too. So a lot of times what a university will do, they'll look at your GPA and they'll look at your test scores. And if they want you, they can say, oh, we have an academic scholarship. You're going to qualify for that. And then maybe we can have a 20% athletic on top of that money. And then you're looking a lot, you're sitting pretty when it comes to having a little bit more money that you have access to. Questions about this eligibility center? You can Google it, it'll come up easily. And you can basically rest assured that if your guidance counselor, if you're taking all of the courses that your guidance counselor is recommending, that you're going to be eligible, as long as you're just not making changes to your schedule or withdrawing from classes. unnecessarily. So like I just said, freshman year, really focusing on your GPA and building your resume, doing as much as you can in terms of extracurriculars or community service, community activities, and finding out what you think from your coaches who know you best, and having really honest conversations about what is it going to take for me to play at the college level? What do I need to improve? Tell them your goals and tell them where you want to play. What level you want to play at, and ask for honest feedback. If you have film of yourself, that's a great way to start, just to start evaluating yourself on the field. By the sophomore year, you have your PSAT scores, hopefully, and you can kind of start identifying academically where you might be a good fit. And then obviously we hopefully created that initial list of schools based on your priorities last week. One of the things that Jess and I talked about that we think is a really good way to spend your time right now is to watch games online. A lot of programs, you'll be able to just Google RIT women's soccer, any soccer program you want to, that you're interested in, and go watch clips of their season from last year and get a feel for what the level looks like. And I think sometimes that can surprise you one way or another about the quality of the game. And it can be a good way to be like, oh, wow, that's how they play. Maybe I don't really fit into that, or wow, like that's perfect for me. I'm a possession style player and they really move the ball well. So just going on and Googling some and watching some games and getting a feel for, kind of what that coach is building on the field. And then we also mentioned about visiting campuses, and right now, it's kind of strange because all the campuses are really quiet and nothing's happening on them. We talked about our own campuses and campuses that might be in the middle of a city, but certainly within, an hour, if you took a drive and took a walk on a campus, I don't think anybody's gonna remove you. I think that might be an interesting way to just spend a little bit of time and walk around and at least see the outside of buildings and, take your own little tours, and just get a feel for some different campuses that you might be interested in, and start kind of seeing, oh yeah, I'd really like this style of campus, or yeah, this city feel, whatever you like or don't like about it. So considering exploring on your own. And then admissions has a ton of resources. They're doing virtual tours. Some are even doing tours with real people that you can register for, and they will walk you around campus virtually, and answer your questions one-on-one. So a lot of resources out there with that. And I think the junior year, we have people who are rising juniors, so who should be starting to plan about when you're going to take your SATs and your ACTs. Again, watching games, and hopefully through the next few months start to narrow down your list so that you can head into your official visits January 1st. Okay. Jess, you got this one, or is this me?
No, I can go.
Okay.
Okay, so just moving on to the contacting coaches part of it, and we kind of created a list of the do's and don'ts to make it a little simpler for you guys. So we'll start off with the don'ts, so that we end on a positive, and you kind of remember the do's. So it's not a good idea to copy and paste emails. You want to take your time. You never know if something doesn't copy correctly, and for the most part, we can always tell when something is copy and pasted. So just take your time on them. Don't rush through them, and you'll feel a lot better knowing that you had the right name in there, you had the right school, you had everything you wanted, and it just looks a lot better moving forward. So the next thing we said was don't just write an email to write an email. I think we touched briefly on this in the last one, when someone asked what the appropriate frequency to contact a coach is. I think we came up with about once a month is probably good. But you don't just want to write an email to say hi or to kind of not have a purpose to it. You want to make sure that there's a purpose, and give an update, or let them know when you're going to be playing next, or that you have a video to share, or maybe you're making a video, or if you have a question about the school or what have you, about where they're at. So just don't write an email because you think that you've got to stay in touch with them for a certain amount of time. And then I think this is huge. Don't just stop talking to a coach. So if you express interest in a program and you've developed some sort of a relationship with this coach, just be honest. If it's no longer for you, you're going to go through this list of schools that you have created with the list of 10 to 20 that you should have right now. And you're going to find that you don't like certain things about the school. You're going to find that it's not what's going to make you happy for the 4 years that you have to be there. So just be honest with the coach. And at the same time that we hope that you're honest with us, we're going to be honest with you. So that's a two-way street. And I think that that's something that's big. We've been told no many, many times, but it looks a lot better when you can be honest and just say, it's not for me anymore. So then moving forward to the do's, I think, and we came up with that an email is probably the best first form of communication. It allows you to have a lot more information in there. And as coaches, for the first time, getting to know you as a player, we can find out a lot more about you through email. And then we said, just show genuine interest and use proper grammar. I can't tell you the amount of times that, and I'm sure Liz can say the same, that emails have come through with not capitalized letters and periods that are no periods, or it's honestly shocking that someone would write an email without the proper grammar. So I think that just shows a lot in expressing your genuine interest. So keep that in mind. Respond in a timely manner, the same way you would want us to. I'm sure as you go through and send these emails to these coaches that you're excited to get in touch with, you're going to want a response from us the same way that we would like responses from you. So it doesn't have to be within the hour, it doesn't have to be within the day, but get back within a timely manner so that, again, that shows your genuine interest in the school. Attach a resume and a highlight video if you have one. If you don't have one, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If it's something that you are interested in doing, maybe during these times, it could be more helpful than it's ever been before. So I think that's something to look into. I wouldn't panic if you don't have one. It's not the end all be all, but that is something that coaches are starting to use more now because of the times. And you just want what you do best in that video. It doesn't have to be a whole game. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes long, just 2 to 3 minutes of what you do best. Be careful of the music. I've gotten a couple that are a little out of hand with the music. And then I think this is another critical one, the same way about being honest. You, the player, should contact the coach. It shouldn't be your parents on your behalf. You're old enough now where you should be the one communicating. And I think as coaches, we want to hear from you. We don't want to hear from your parents. And then ask about ID camps. And I know that that's a little uncertain right now as to what ID camps are going to happen and if there will be any. But at least ask the question and make sure that it's a school that you're genuinely interested in again. And don't just go to a million ID camps because you want to be seen. I think it should be a school that you're genuinely interested in. And the coach has expressed that interest as well. Did I miss anything, Liz?
No, that sounds really good. And we're going to show you a sample profile and a sample letter further on, just to give you some examples of what that should look like with the contact. I will agree. I would say too that I've watched more video in the past 2 months of players than I've ever watched. So if you do have if you contact your coaches and if you've been to a tournament, I think so many tournaments have been filming for companies come in and film those, that you might be able to find footage that you didn't know existed about you. Certainly, if you have high school games that you played in that you might be able to dig into and kind of clip out, it could be a fun project in terms of your development, and also just to prepare, to give coaches something. So. Oh boy.
I said you were the tech savvy.
I know. Here I go. Okay. Yeah, you got it. And I have a sample letter with this below too.
Okay. And then just a few other tips for your email that you're going to put together. You just, for the most part, you want to just explain your interest in the college. I think that you want to make sure that, again, you are not rushing through this and copying and pasting, because you want them to know that you're writing about their college, their university, along with the soccer program. So some topics to include are your major of interest. That way we know that you you've done your research, our college offers the major you're interested in. That's big time. The location of the school, or the location of where you are, and where you're from, and why you're choosing the school in the email, just briefly. You can even touch base on the soccer program success. I've gotten a few emails where they've come in and they've recognized and congratulated on a certain student athlete winning an award, or us winning a title, or a certain record that was broken. And I think that goes to show that you're really truly interested and you're following our program. So that can be included in your email as well. Do you have a family connection? That's always something that's interesting. If your mom or your dad or an aunt and uncle, a sister, has attended the school, I think that shows that you're genuinely interested. Your graduation year, you could always include that. Your position is huge, and if you play for a club team, along with any GPA and SAT and ACT scores. So all of this is relevant information that you can include in your initial email, or as we go down in the slides here, we will include a sample resume that can also include this information as well for you. But I think ultimately you just want to demonstrate your character and maturity in all communication. I think the genuine interest that was stated in the above slide is huge, and there's a lot that you can put into an email to demonstrate that. And you don't just want to do it on the first email. You want to make sure that you continue to demonstrate it throughout the time that you're communicating with these coaches. Did you want to take this one, Liz?
Sure. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but we think the most important things that we would want to see on a profile, and we might not look at all of this right away, but we might refer back to it, as you apply, or, as we get further in the process and we're really interested in a player, we might go back and refer to their references so we can reach out. But having a picture of yourself, having your academic info, your contact information, your position, anything you're doing off the field. And I think references are a big deal. You should ask your coaches before you put them on a reference form so they're prepared for it. And I think coaches are used to doing this and are always excited to talk about their players with college coaches. But just always good practice before you ask for anybody to be a reference, to ask them first. Oh gosh, this is okay. This is just an example of a sample letter. Dear Coach, last name. I think that's an appropriate way to address a coach. Dear Coach Schufelt. I think that's respectful. This is my name. This is where I go to school. This is what year I am. I'm interested in your university, athletically and academically. Here's a little bit about my high school season. These are the positions I play. Here's a little bit about my club. In addition to my club soccer, I also play ice hockey. Here's my GPA. You know, this is when I plan to take my tests. I've been practicing. I've been doing practice tests. Your university has many of the qualities I'm looking for. These are the qualities that I'm looking for. And I'm especially interested in this major that is highly respected at your university. Here's the contact information for my coaches, a video link. Please let me know about ID clinics. Oh my gosh. And there we go. I think it's always helpful to sign it, put your jersey name on it so that if they ever do get to watch you, I've done this a million times where someone sends me their oh, I'll be at the Jefferson Cup and here's my schedule. And then I have to search a million places to just find the jersey number because there's a lot of jersey numbers out there. Oh, great. She always puts her name and her jersey number. That's super helpful. I also think that if you don't already have an email address that's specific to you, make an email address that's specific to you and has your graduation year attached to it. But that way coaches don't have to search. If they want to call you, that all of your contact information is always at the bottom of your emails. So this was a moment when we were going to break off for questions. And Jess was going to take the older people going into senior year, and I was going to keep the rest. I'm going to take a quick look at, I'm going to stop sharing because I think, are we done for this one? That's next.
Yeah, just the end.
I'm pretty sure we don't have anybody who's 2021. Shout at me if I'm wrong about that. 2021s. So we can speak more specifically to the 2022s and below, which really is kind of what this program is tailored to anyways. The planning of the list should really be done the sophomore year. And we're getting to the end of that year for all of you, most of you, or younger. So that's great because this is the perfect time to kind of perfect all of these little things. You know, really hone in on the letter, really make sure your profile and your resume looks really good, and learn how to cut some video and make a highlight video. I think in the current climate, one of the things that Jess and I talked about as well was just that we don't know when ID clinics are going to be back online. So as universities try to prepare to make sure that their students come back, having having kids who are under 18 on their campus who are not a part of their university is going to be a larger risk for them to take than it might be obviously for their sports to play. So I think, you know, some universities in some regions of the country might open up and be able to do clinics earlier than others. And there are going to be some that might not offer that. And it also might be very university specific. So I would encourage you to try to dig up some film and see if you can put together a video. I've gotten video of players who are doing work on their own. I don't find it the most helpful. I certainly am, you know, prefer if it's a game. You know, it's great to see somebody's technical ability, but also it doesn't necessarily show how successful somebody will be when they're actually playing. So I know it can be a challenge to find that, but if it's possible, I would highly recommend it. So I'm going to pause right there. Jess, do you have anything else you want to share? And then go ahead and unmute and maybe we can share videos and just open it up for some dialogue and some questions about kind of what you're dealing with and what questions and worries you guys have about the process in general, or, you know, how the current situation is impacting recruiting for you. And we'd be happy to field some questions about that.
Yeah, do you want to stop sharing your screen, Liz, and that way we can see?
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, so guys, why don't you take your mute off and your video, let's show your videos, and that way if you guys have questions, there's a way to, isn't there a way to like raise your hand or something on here? Or do a thumbs up or something?
Yeah, turn the light on, please.
Yeah, there's a little, you could give one of those.
Oh yeah.
If anybody has a question, you can put it in the chat. Oh my gosh, this is just so much better.
Yeah. I don't know why we don't have you guys show your face the whole time anyways, even if you're on mute.
We got to do it from now on.
Yeah. It's weird talking to no one.
It is. It's like Jess and I are having a conversation with each other. So how did the list making go? Like, how did you guys do with that? If you feel really good about your list, give me one of these. Nobody. Okay. Kaylee feels good about her list. Awesome.
Wait.
Jansen, I don't know your first name, but Meg.
Sideways.
Bella. Okay, cool. For those of you who feel good about your list, Heather, can you share one reason you feel good about it?
Let's go with Erica.
I said sideways. I said sideways.
Why sideways? Why do you feel
Because
okay?
because I'm like still like looking at that one. It's like really stressful.
I definitely agree with that, Erica.
Thank you.
Did you say you agreed? Was that you or was that Heather? Sorry.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. You agree that it's hard, like there's just so much research.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
I like got like some good ones down, but then I'm like, but there's so many schools, so like I don't know.
Yeah,
Like you don't know if you're choosing the right ones. Or
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't think it's
and
so
like
soon.
there's a lot to handle with it all.
Yeah, it's really overwhelming. How many schools do you have on your list?
12.
13.
I have like
I have like
solid
7,
like
20.
10.
Okay. Do you feel like you have a good list to make a contact, like to start making contact with coaches? And raise your hand also if you've already been in touch with the coaches on your list, or some of them. Has anybody made contact with coaches yet? Raise your hand. Just reach out, email. Give me one of these.
So this will be perfect then, because they'll have a lot of coaches to contact after this meeting.
Yeah, for sure. So when you send out emails to coaches, it's kind of like sending a message into a black hole, I can imagine, because you just don't know what you're going to get back. And in some cases, you might not get anything back, and you might not get anything back for a long time. Or somebody will, put you on a list, and you'll start getting emails. It really depends on the type of school and the type of coach that you write. It will depend on that to say who you get an email back from. Jess, do you agree with that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys a funny story. When I was being recruited, I was very adamant that I wanted to go to Notre Dame and play. So at the time when I was being recruited, Notre Dame was one of the top schools in the country. So I wrote my letter to Notre Dame, and I did not hear a word back at all. So I wrote to other schools and I heard back. So I think it goes to show if you hear back from the coach, that coach is probably the coach you want to invest in a little bit more, the school you want to invest in a little bit more, rather than having these high hopes that maybe one day that coach will get back to me. So I think you should make sure you focus on and pursue schools that show a genuine interest back after you do write your email to them.
I'm like confused, like if we're emailing them now, but like say we don't have like a video or any like scores yet, are we just emailing them so they like know who we are, or?
That's a good question. Like, what do you have to show for yourself if you don't have a video? You're like, I'm here. Here I am. You can't watch me, and I don't have a clinic to go to. Yeah. I mean, that's a tricky one. But I think that just like starting the dialogue, like, do you want my video? You know, like, I think it's perfectly fine that you guys at your age don't have the answers about how to get recruited in a pandemic, right? Like, you don't, I mean, you've never been through the recruiting process anyways, and now there's, you know, that thing to deal with. So I think it's totally fine to just say that, like, you want a video, I'm planning on doing this, and I want to come to ID clinics as soon as it's possible. And just begin the dialogue and just see what happens. You know, put something out there and kind of see what you get back. And it's going to start you on a track, right? Like, so if you email these coaches and this one writes you back, well, you're going to get a lot of information about that coach. And you're probably going to get information about the other 4 who didn't write you just by the fact that they didn't write you. But this you can start having a dialogue with. And then you'll have something to compare to later on down the road if you write 5 more and you're like, oh, now this coach, yeah, they talk to me completely differently than this coach does, and I really like this. So I just think you might not know what's going to come of it, but you kind of just got to get going.
Yeah, and going off that question, Erica, I mean, the worst that's going to happen is they're just not going to answer you. So, and going based off, like Liz said, you're going to find out, okay, maybe this is the level that I should be at. These coaches are actually answering me. Whereas maybe the top school in the country isn't answering me. So I think it's going to kind of lead you down the right path, and it'll help you find out, okay, maybe this Division 3 or Division 2 or Division 1 school is answering me. So now maybe I should research other schools similar to that school, and see if you get more responses, and as long as it interests you and they have your programs and all that stuff. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we add like besides our club team, should we add like things like if we play for like ODP, because I know Bridget and I play for that, like would that be helpful?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I mean, however many years you've played ODP and any other, yeah, for sure. Sid.
Okay.
We've got a question down here, Liz, that I feel like you would know more how to answer. What is NAIA?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Livy. NAIA. So, you know, the NCAA is like the governing body for almost every university in the country. And then there's the NAIA that is the governing body for a small group of universities that are not part of the NCAA. So they're not Division 1, they're not Division 2, they're not Division 3. They're a separate entity, and they abide by different rules, basically. So it's, you know, I know a few who are in Southern California, a lot of schools with a religious denomination that are like in the middle of the country are NAIA. I don't know a ton about it just because we don't have like a massive NAIA presence in this area. I just know that they have fewer rules, so sometimes they can bring in some like really good international players. They still have scholarship players. And, you know, I think it just depends on the college that you're looking at. I hope that helps. So does everybody feel like they can move on from their list and start working on their email, their contact stuff, so that by next week you can start sending it out to coaches? Or are we still working on a list?
I feel like personally, I'm still trying to get more.
Yeah, I feel like adding them as I go.
Like, I like haven't like started like doing this until like now.
Okay, cool. I think it's fine to have a running list. and kind of just add as you go, as long as somewhere you have like a database where you can keep track of like who you emailed. So I would even do it as a spreadsheet where like you have all of the colleges that you want to contact, and then like, the days when you contacted them. So you're not like, didn't I send them a letter and it was 3 months ago? Try to keep yourself as organized as possible. But I think getting started on emailing, if you find that you really like something, it might lead you in a direction to find more schools like that too. Okay, what else for some of you guys who I haven't heard from? We haven't heard from.
I think that it'd be helpful if you guys muted yourselves and just unmute when you talk. I think that we're hearing a little bit of background. But yeah, Liz, who haven't we really? You can pick any of them out. Most of them are mine. That's why I'm letting you talk a little more.
It's easier for you to pick on them than it is for me, but so I won't call anybody out because I wouldn't want that myself.
Coach already called me out.
Yeah.
See, she knew exactly when she called you out, and now I do too. I know why. She knew you would share, Erica, and that you wanted to share. You had stuff to share. So, but again, like I want to make sure we're getting your questions answered, and also letting you go because I don't want you to be on a screen forever in a day. And I know you guys already are on screens all the time. So, the last thing I want to say is that if you plan to go to ID clinics, and maybe this is on our last slide, I don't know. But if you do plan to go to ID clinics, like one of the things that's going to need to happen for you is you're going to need to be able to be like in relative shape to play soccer again so that you don't injure yourself when you come back, right? So everybody's at home. We're all looking at screens. It's not really the same as playing soccer, right? It's just not. Our bodies are not in a situation where we could go back onto the field and play soccer right now. No matter how fit you are, without playing the game, it's really hard to play the game. So as much as you can do at home to stay in good shape for when ID clinics open back up and you can play again and stay healthy and showcase yourself and go to whatever tournaments come up, that's going to be really important. And I tell you, it's going to be so much easier to stay in shape or to maintain what you have than it will be to get back in shape whenever you get to play again. So that's my piece of advice to you, so that when you have a chance to show a coach what you can do, that you're physically ready to do it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of that is you just don't know when it's going to be. It could be a month from now, it could be 2 months from now, it could be even longer. But when I don't think we're going to have a very long time from when they say we're ready to go back. And you guys won't have that time to get in shape from the time that they bring you back to the time that you start playing. So I think that's a critical piece moving forward. And I think you guys play for me, I harp on it. But I think more than ever, you guys really do have to value being as fit as you possibly can and maintaining that so that when we are ready to go back, you're ready to go.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again and we're going to do the last action item, but I want you to just freeze your list or add to it as you want to, but just stop worrying about your list and start preparing your profile. Start doing these 2 assignments. Jess is going to show you now. Let's see here.
Yeah, and like we said, as she's sharing this screen, you just want to start reaching out. That's the only way that you're going to be able to start narrowing down. You're going to get a feel for who's answering you and what type of level you should be at and what coaches say what and what drives your interest. And that will really just start to lead you in the right direction. And I know all of you at least have 5, maybe 10, if not more schools on that list. So just start preparing these action items and start emailing. It's the only way that you're going to continue on with this process.
And by no means is an email like any sign, like if you email a coach and then you find out next week that you absolutely don't want to go to that school, like that's fine. You can do that. You have every right to change your mind at any point in time. So
that's the best part about it.
yeah, you don't need to make some massive life decision before you send an email. It's literally just an email.
That's a good point, Liz.
So create your email. Just write your letter, and then you'll have your template. So anytime you get a new college on your list, you already have it. You just plug in the details that are specific to that university, and you can easily send it out.
Yeah.
Assignment number 1. Number 2, create your resume. Have a parent or a coach look it over. And then we'll talk next week about, then we'll get sending them out. But this week, between the time we see you tonight and the time we see you next Tuesday, we're asking you to create your letter and create your resume. And you can email to either of us. Like, I would love to look at it and help you with it if you want. I know Jess feels the same way. So just, if you have questions or you get hung up, there's a billion samples online. You could literally take it. I bet you once you sit down and just commit to it, it'll take you 1 hour.
And that sample email that Liz had showed you guys, if you want something like that just to go off of, I mean, I'm sure, Liz, you'd be more than happy to send it to them, and you can personalize it in your own way.
We can share this whole presentation with you.
Yeah. So.
Okay, go forth, write letter, do resume.
Any last minute questions that you're dying to ask before we head out here? No? You guys are simple.
It's honestly changed the whole thing that I get to see your faces.
I know.
Better.
So much
I feel like
better.
I just got like a jolt of energy. I'm talking to real people out there. So thank you. We'll do this again.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night. Good luck with your work. Again, email us. This is good practice. Email me, email Jess. Just send us an email and be like, I'm stuck on this. What do you think? Or can you review it? Happy to help.
Yep.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
People that want to be, right? People that want to be will keep